Okay, moving on. Our next panel speaker is Professor Tankeshwar Kumar, Vice Chancellor, Central University of Haryana. The next speaker I would like to call upon stage, Major General Dr. J.K. Thapliyal, SM retired Vice Chancellor, Swami Vivekanand Shubharti University. Do we have with us Dr. J.K. Thapliyal? He's from the Swami Vivekanand Subharti University. Okay, moving on. I would like to call upon stage Professor Dr. B.L. Bhardwaj, Vice Chancellor, Maharishi, Markandeshwar University. Please welcome with a big round of applause. And the last, not the last, second last, I would like to call upon stage Professor Dr. Raghuvir Singh, Vice Chancellor, Teerthanker Mahaveer University. And the last, Dr. R.D. Patidar, Vice Chancellor, O.P. Jindal University. Thank you for having here. Now we can like to call upon stage our speaker, Dr. Prem Das Maheshwari, Business Editor, South Asia, D2I. South Asia D2L, I would like to call upon stage Dr. Prem Das Maheshwari. Please welcome. Now let's start the panel discussion, and the topic is very interesting for all of us. So, sir, thank you.
Good afternoon, all the present in this hall, and particularly I must thank New Normal and its President Chandan Anand for organizing this two-day summit or conclave. This evening, after having a very lavish lunch, we are a little bit in sliding mode. It will take a little time to start from somewhere. So, to begin with business hour, how can NEP 2020 help build the skilled workforce in India? This is the topic for discussion, this panel 3. And with me are eminent panelists who are from universities, higher education institutions. And we'll discuss on 5 points. How does the National Education Policy, NEP 2020, address the specific needs of skill development and vocational education to build a skilled workforce in India? What measures are outlined in NEP 2020 to promote collaboration between educational institutions and industries in order to bridge the gap between academia and the workforce? 3. How does NEP 2020 integrate internship, experiential learning, and entrepreneurship to enhance the skill development of students? 4. What role does NEP 2020 assign to vocational education in fostering the acquisition of industry-specific skills and preparing students for diverse career paths? And final, how does NEP 2020 ensure the quality and relevance of skill development programs to meet the changing demands of job market? Our panelists will delve into it because these are the areas which NEP 2020, union government and the state governments are focusing on. Everybody knows that India is facing a lot challenge for youth employment. That's why this NEP 2020 can find the ways and means how to accommodate that. So now the basic question is that this unemployment in India, how this can be covered up? How can this be mitigated? So I'll request our first panelist, Dr. Raghuvir Singh, to start with.
Good afternoon, everyone. And thank you, Dr. Chattar Singhji, for giving an opportunity. If you Google about skills, you'll find this is the most talked about word. But my question to myself has been, do I really understand this word properly? You ask 10 people, they'll have 10 different interpretations of the word. This morning we had a beautiful lady from LinkedIn, and she shown us one of the slides where she mentioned about 10 different skills. And I was wondering whether it is a skills or a tools or techniques. And she said that every second, third year, skills will change. No, skills don't change. Skills are skills, they will always remain with you. What changes is the tools and techniques. Now the question arises, what role universities has in tools and techniques? There are two sides of the skill equation. One is a university and another is a industry. One is the supplier, another is the buyer. Now, as far as supplier is concerned, he or she has a constraints of standardization. Whereas the industry, the buyer, or the demand side of it, requires customization. No one industry wants the same skills. They all want different skills. Now that means we are talking about two important types of skills. One is a transferable skill and another is a non-transferable skills. A university cannot afford, is not equipped, doesn't have a wherewithal to provide customized skills. What it can provide you is a standardized skills. Transferable skills, which is part of a competency of an individual. What are those transferable skills? All your skills which deals with problem solving, decision making, critical thinking, which is used for the problem solving, is what a university is supposed to do. What max a university could do about these so-called transferable skills is train students on how to do it. Now, if someone understands educational models, they would vouch by it that what industry demands is trying to demand from a wrong place. That's their role to provide specific skills which are required for their jobs. We are not, as a universities, to provide skills for the jobs. We are here to provide skills for their competency. Let that be very, very clear in our mind. And once it is clear in my mind, then I put together my processes and procedures to develop those competencies. So NEP or no NEP, this has been there, over a long period of time. These skills were developed, but unconsciously. Outcomes were there in education all the time, but unconsciously they were not defined. If you don't define anything, you are less likely to get that. That was a big issue. Similarly today, if I had to talk about skills, I need to develop my faculty to do that. Is my faculty ready, developed to provide so-called tools and techniques to the students? No, they are not. Are they supposed to do? In my mind, no. You might all have different views, it's fine. We all, as an academicians, can vary in our views. And that's the enrichment of education, having different views on any issue. Okay, that's what I have to say on this subject. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. what type of skills and why skills are important and how many kinds of skills are there. For every job, a new type of skill, every day it is coming up. Just like Raya sir said, that even babysitting or baby sleep, that has become a skill, and there is lot of employability in that sector also. So skills can be developed according to demand of the situation. Thank you, sir. Now I'll request Dr. Patidar to please give his opinion about it and suggestions too.
Thank you, Dr. Singh, for giving me this opportunity. As rightly said by Professor Raghuvir, on his view about how can the NEP 2020 can build the skills. Yes, the NEP 2020 have enough capability to build the skills. As we all aware, the NEP 2020 launched in July 2020 to revamp the educational system of India with an objective, with a purpose, with an aim to make the India knowledge superpower in the world. The NEP have 5 most important pillars, that is the access, accountability, affordability, equity, and the quality. The NEP is very specifically designed to provide more flexibility and holistic approach to the education. The NEP focusing more on the conceptual and the fundamental development by providing the experiential learning, and thereby, as said by Dr. Singh, it is have that capability to develop, to build the problem-solving ability, the critical thinking of the learners. What are the most important things required to make skilled workforce? I think the number 1 is the curriculum. And the curriculum should be a completely industry-linked curriculum. Curriculum should be based on the current industrial need. Second most important thing which is required to make the skilled workforce is the teaching learning pedagogy. And I believe that the exponential learning or the problem and project-based learning is the way to make the skilled workforce. Third most important thing which is required to develop the skills of the faculty. And the fourth most important thing which is required, the proper amalgamation, proper use of the cutting edge recent technologies from curriculum to pedagogy to faculty development. I think all these things are very clearly mentioned in New Education Policy 2020. But the most important thing is how to implement. It's very easy to prepare to make policies, but the most important, most difficult part of any policy, if we wish to see the result or the purpose any policy is designed, can be possible only when we properly implement, execute the policy. So I think that the curriculum which is defined in New Education Policy, the multidisciplinary, the interdisciplinary approach, there should be proper amalgamation of the subjects from arts, from culture, from languages, and so many things that really help if we are able to properly implement and design the curriculum as per the guideline of the new National Education Policy 2020, it will definitely support to build the skilled workforce. Second thing, that is the experiential learning. The new education policy states that the pedagogy evolve more discussion-based learning, student-centric or the learner-centric approach, inquiry-based approach, invention-based approach. These are some of the things which is really required to create a skilled workforce. And all these things are mentioned. It's said by Professor Singh that it was also earlier before NEP. But the most important thing is now it is in more systematic manner. So I personally believe that yes, if we are able to execute the new National Education Policy 2020 in a real sense, then we may be able to generate, we may be able to create or build the skilled workforce. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Patidar. Very well, you mentioned that we need to have curriculum first. Out of this audience, please, can anybody tell me what can be the curriculum syllabus of e-mobility? We are having vehicles now on the road, e-vehicles, EV. Is there any curriculum if I want to start that in my university, in BTech course? Is any industry ready to do that? So, sir, whatever is written in NEP, if we go out of that, then we shall have to have critical thinking. Thank you very much, sir. Now I request Dr. Bhardwaj to focus on medical education. This is my request, that what are the impediments, what are the hardships while implementing this policy in medical institutions. Dr. Bhardwaj.
Good afternoon, everybody. It's my pleasure to be here. I think I'm the only medical teacher here. I am from MMU Sadopur, Ambala. This group has 3 universities and 3 medical colleges. One at Maulana, the other is Solan, the third is where I am working. I'm giving this introduction because I'm been advised to tell about the role of skill development in medical education. And medical education is nothing without skills. If a doctor listens to the patient and prescribes medicine, and the other one listens carefully and in a skillful manner and inquires deeply so many things, and then does a surgery or a simple, even maybe minor operation, it has value. It shows how the skill development helps in the employment. The one person who is competent and skill-based, he will be selected in comparison to the other. India has the problem of unemployment, and just because of lack of skill. Just imagine, the figure says that only 2.3% of the workforce in India has undergone some sort of skill training, as comparison to, if we compare it with 68% in UK, 75% in Germany, 80% in Japan, and 96% in South Korea. You can imagine our status in comparison to others. So NEP 2020 is a very bold and revolutionary step. I will say, I don't disagree with the others' views, but my personal opinion is NEP 2020 is a boon for the Indian youth. Not only youth, this education lays stress on education for all. Even after the age of 80, you can acquire the education. The provisions is like that. The provisions are for the youth, for the women, for the underprivileged and disadvantaged society segments also. So the main stress of this education is on vocational and holistic view of life. Holistic, you all understand, in comparison to the previous education, which was mainly of science and economics, commerce, that was all. Now the segments of education are communication, soft skills, which are very important, cooperation. The education lays stress on innovative and equity and resilience in the students, and development of these, in addition to these soft skills which are known as life skills, the development is also towards the productivity and the skills which can give employment to the students. Vocational education has been laid stress upon to the extent that not only ITIs, which were earlier spreading education of vocational training, now every school, every college, universities, they will have to give 50% workforce, the 50% students, they should be given at least some sort of vocational training. That's, I think, will be very helpful step. And in vocational training, and National Council for Integration of Vocational Education has been established. It has to see that the orders are being undertaken. And stress on Lok Vidya. The students will be given training about their local skills also. Like in Punjab, the people will be shown, the students, they will be shown how to plant paddy, how to grow potato. But that's also will help them. And also like artisan workers, mason workers, and in Kerala they are being taught how to grow banana. So this will help a lot. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Bhardwaj. Very skillfully, you elaborated how NEP can do miracles in medical education and professional education, particularly in Punjab. Now I request Dr. Ajay Gupta to give us some light on link between industry and academia. How to create workforce with combination of the two, and how to create combination of industry and academia.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for having me here. Thank you for giving me the opportunity. I think I would agree with my colleague who mentioned about the employability factor of the early education system. If I go back into my younger days, I would say that the BTech courses, the engineering courses, they were producing engineers who could not operate a lathe machine. They could not weld if a pipeline was broken. They were producing engineers who could probably want to become general managers, and that is one of the reasons why they did management programs after the engineering, and they all contributed to the famous brain drain of the 70s, right? The main reason was that the early education system was producing managers / clerks. We were not producing managers who could actually manage on the shop floor. The new education policy is perhaps flipping the model, and it is giving a lot of respectability to employment where one has to use his own hands, where you are expected to roll up the sleeves and go and work on the point of crisis yourself and not be dependent on a fitter or a mechanic or a farmer or a gardener or a cook or whatever it might be. What is the reason? Why is it that the earlier education produced products, including myself, I mean, we are part of the earlier generation, there was no dignity of labor. We did not respect labor. We always felt that labor, doing anything laborious or doing anything by our own hands, was not meant for us. Because when we were young, we were told, padhega, likhega, hoga kharab. Sorry, khelega, kudega, hoga kharab, padhega, likhega, banega nawab. That's the generation most of us have been brought up in. We were not encouraged to play games. We were not encouraged to dirty our hands. We were not encouraged to do anything with our own hands. Tune typist nahi banna hai, tu typist hire karega. That was the instructions, or that was the mindset of the previous generation, or let's say the generation after independence. But today, 75 years after independence, the world has changed. There is a lot of respectability in doing things with your own hand. It is becoming a craft-based society. There is respect for what people can do with their hands. You know, I come from a marine engineering background. In our industry, we were taught to operate the lathe. It's a question of survival. If the ship is sinking, you cannot wait for a fitter to come and help you out. So you have to be an engineer who can go down to the reefer room, fix up the air conditioning himself. You can be an engineer who can go down and open up a diesel engine himself, despite the fact that you may be the chief engineer of the ship. So the fact remains that new education policy is giving relevance to prior learning. It is giving relevance to skills. It is giving relevance to respectability because you know something to execute with your own hand. And the government has brought in credit-based system. So if you have not had formal education, but you have had informal skills, those skills would be given X amount of credit, which can be converted into a formal degree. It is the first time post NEP that there is a possibility today to merge skills and education. That is the beauty of the NEP 2020, that a skill-based education system where on-the-job training is being given a lot of importance. So while we might say that earlier education system we had internships, but we didn't have apprenticeship. The internship, we all know, management trainee was a free labor. They were treated as clerks, they were treated as given the most menial jobs in the managerial hierarchy. They were not treated with respect. But now the education policy says that even if you have to stand on the cash till of a store, it is a skill. How many of us, I mean, you know, now it's all digital currency, but I can tell you of many people who work in the retail industry who are general managers for the retail space, but if they are asked to stand on the cash counter, they will not know how to batch close the credit card machine. And if you don't batch close the credit card machine, the revenue that you have earned during the day will not hit your bank the next day. Is that skill or is that education? So it is not saying that the general manager is not educated, but perhaps he is not skilled to handle the cash till. NEP 2020 is bringing in a merger of skilling and education. So in my opinion, the beauty of NEP lies in the fact that let us respect people who can work with their own hands. And let us not say that only people who are sitting in air-conditioned offices are the babus of that particular industry. So can we bring in a system where we have everything which is focused around skill? As the gentleman sitting on the right of me mentioned that we have to create a workforce which can actually execute and not only give command. It is like the armed forces. It is like going into the war zone. It is like going, I mean, you cannot be a general if you do not know how to pull the trigger yourself. That's the main difference of the NEP, and that's the main beauty, that it is encouraging teacher learning. It is encouraging lifelong learning. It is encouraging academia-industry partnership. It is encouraging prior learning. It is giving respect to what you may have known. So in my opinion, it is probably at the crux of the Amrit Mahotsav. It is a real turning point that in the next couple of years, if most of us are able to implement the new education policy, we will probably give a thrust to the Indian growth. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Abhay Gupta. Very well you said that you should learn how to do your own work by your own hand, dignity of labor. That is must for today's generation, and it should be applicable to everyone, boy or girl or young or old. So, good thing that you have suggested. Now I request Dr. Prem Maheshwari to focus on how to develop skill amongst students through education.
Thank you so much, sir. And I represent the EdTech industry, education technology industry. I am from a company which is into learning management platforms, and a very relevant question. And I think if you see NEP, and in fact I divide the education system of our country into 3 different eras: AC, BC, and DC. BC is before COVID, DC is during COVID, and AC is after COVID. The NEP was conceptualized before COVID, announced during COVID, and is now getting implemented after COVID. But the relevance of this NEP is now felt because, as you rightly said, Skilling is one major challenge in our country because so far our education system was aimed at making our students job ready. Now we have to prepare our students to be life ready. And life skills needs to be an important parameter of NEP. I'll just read out, item number 23 as part of the objectives of the NEP, which says clearly that technology will be used as tool for educators, removing linguistic barriers between educators and students, giving wider access to education, particularly children with disabilities. Now, we have to be very, very inclusive. Use of technology is part of the new education policy, and I think perforce we adopted technology during COVID, and now we continue to adopt technology because now we have to make our children life ready. Now, there are certain skills and competencies that needs to be developed as part of curriculum, and education policy, new education policy has given a lot of flexibility in terms of teaching and learning. Students can switch courses, students can actually study a different stream as it has been happening in the Western world. Now that has given a lot of ideas, a lot of innovation that can be incorporated into our education system. Also, if you consider the typical education system in a university scenario, it is built on 4 pillars. The university management, faculties, and parents, students and parents. These are the 4 pillars typically as part of the education system, and there has to be a fantastic amount of collaboration amongst each other using technological tools, which are also now available, modern technological solutions and tools which are now made available to different universities. Now there's a lot of engagement that happens between the student and teacher. Teacher is no more sage on the stage, they are now guided by the side, and that's the basic inherent feature of new education policy. So I think using technological tools including AR, VR, artificial intelligence, machine learning, actually ability to track the competency attainment of each and every student through the journey of the student in the learning ecosystem is very, very important, and is also part of the NEP in the form of outcome-based education, where you are able to understand how a particular student is attaining those specific competencies and where are the competency gaps, and therefore using artificial intelligence guide additional learning resources of such student. Dr. Bhardwaj was talking about the skilling of medical education, and I absolutely agree with him. That is one of the most important education field where competency-based skills are required. We, as part of this learning management solution, developed a competency-based medical education solution, which we will definitely discuss offline with Dr. Bhardwaj. But the whole idea is that technology has to be immensely used as part of the NEP to ensure that our students today acquire those competencies, and management of universities should be able to identify at-risk student, identify those skill gaps, use technology to address those skill gaps so that the outcome when the students are out of the education system, they are employable into life scenarios. They are able to adapt to number of multiple upcoming future jobs that do not exist now. That's my take on this topic, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Maheshwari. Very well said. Skill, skill, skill. It is everyone needed. During the British period, 1880s, I found one record. In Merit division, farmers used to use only one plow for the whole type of sowing and all that. The same plow for ganna, sugar, same plow for wheat, same plow for rapeseed oil, same plow. The technique was that when he was to sow sugar cane, then he will develop something round, a rope or something like that, so that the plow is wider. So skill is not there something new to all of us. We'll find in villages, it's so many techniques how to make the cow. Only thing is that now it is being given a hype of technology every day. Now first session is over, second part of session is just 1 minute. how India can create workforce. 2 suggestions.
You provide education, skill will follow. I'm so simple about it. Right? Education are those 3 domains. Knowledge, psychomotor skills, and affective skills. You put it on a continuum and decide, based upon your resources, how much time, effort, money you're going to spend on psychomotor skills, so-called skills as I understand. How much time you're going to put in on knowledge, right? How much time is going to put on those transferable skills. Now, depending upon that, and it's all left to the universities. No, nobody defines for anything about anybody. And the skills will follow. My one take is that thinking is permanent, skills are temporary. And I have a small experience to share about half a minute. I was called by a university to review their skill development program, which they called it. One, they said, learning by project-based learning, PBL, popularly known as. Another was experiential learning. And I was trying to review that, and after 5 projects reviews, I said, hey, stop it. This is a project, not project-based learning. Number 2, it was experiential learning. And these guys, what they do, that, internship, they came and started presenting the project. I said, hey, this is not actually experiential learning. My point is that first learn conceptually, have a knowledge of a model, then you try to implement. Don't go by the word skill. Knowledge is paramount, fundamental, skill would come later. Because you can't learn skills in a university.
Time is
What is
over.
there to, there is a lot of time to learn during your whole career.
Time is
But
over.
you don't get knowledge there. Thank you.
Now, another question to Dr. Patidar is, what is the stage of skilling the students? At what stage skilling should be initiated among the students?
Skill should be initiated from very beginning, from childhood. In a process of developing the skill is, as rightly said by Dr. Singh, that first we must clear the concept, then how to apply the concept, after apply, how to do the analysis. After analysis, there should be how to do the synthesize. Synthesizing then required the evaluation. I think then it helped to create or build the skill. So, in my view, the 2 most important thing, number 1, we must shift from rote-based, the memory-based learning to the experiential learning is the most important thing required to create the skill workforce. The second most important thing is the role of teacher is not to just mug up and deliver the lecture in the classroom. The role of teacher should be facilitator rather than just go and teach in the classroom whatever the information which is just one click away available with the students. The role of teacher should be facilitator. Then I think we may be able to create the skill workforce. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Can I pass the question? Time is up. So, 30 seconds only. Time is up. Doctor, like to answer? Dr. Bhardwaj, just tell us, don't you think that psychometric tests are important to introduce skills to a particular section of students?
Very important, because we have to think the ability of the learner, and the skill can be taught to even the anyone with the low IQ even, but it should be learned, practiced, and then it should be observed, assessed. Thank you.
Sir, Dr. Abhay Gupta ji, I just want to know from you that how collaboration of academia and industry can lead to a pool of workforce in India other than engineering and IT.
That's a very good question. I think in today's day of commerce, where technology is playing a very important role and technology is upgrading itself at a pace which even the technologist is unable to keep pace with. In that scenario, it is practically impossible for an educational institution to predict the job roles of future, and hence it is important for the educational institution to be partnering with the industry so that they evolve together and they create the skills that are going to be required as the technology is evolving.
Thank you, sir. 30 seconds. I think, to me, three things are required. Use of technology as tutor, use of technology as a teaching tool, and use of technology as a learning tool. This is absolutely required to be able to generate skilled people who are able to use right side of their brain. So, I think less than 30 seconds, sir. Thank you.
Time is up, sir. I'm sorry. Waiting and I don't want others to wait for us. Thank you very much, the panelists. And it has been a wonderful session because so many things came out of syllabus and very well answered to the audience, to the august audience by the panelists. I thank all the panelists and the organizers. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. So wonderful discussion as we have been listening since last 40 minutes. So now I request Mr. Chandan Anand kindly proceed and present a small token of appreciation to all our panel members. So I request, we are presenting a very small token of appreciation and we are felicitating Professor Dr. Chattar Singh, Vice Chancellor, Rai Technology University. Mr. Abhay Gupta, founder and CEO of Professor Dr. Bhardwaj, Vice Chancellor, Markandeshwar University. Professor Dr. Raghuvir Singh, Vice Chancellor,